I'm now prepared to rule on the question of privilege raised on May 28, 2021, by the member for Elgin, Middlesex, London, concerning the conduct of the member for Pontiac. During her intervention, she reported that the member for Pontiac had admitted on social media to committing a breach of conduct in front of the camera during virtual proceedings of the House in Committee of the Whole last May 26th. Citing the relevant authorities, she argued that this was an unprecedented breach of an offence to the dignity of the House. She added that the behaviour of members participating in the proceedings by video conference must be treated the same as that of members who are physically present in the chamber, whether or not they are on camera. In response, the member for Kingston and the Islands agreed that it was a deplorable and unacceptable incident, while also pointing out that the member for Pontiac had accepted full responsibility, and he had stepped aside from his parliamentary secretary responsibilities and from his committee responsibilities in order to obtain the appropriate assistance. For that reason, he was again apologizing on his behalf. He concluded by saying that the incident was not a question of privilege because there was a long tradition in the House of accepting members' apologies. La présidence a souvent rappelé aux députés.
The Speaker has often reminded members that virtual sittings are an extension of the usual business of the House, and that virtual sittings must respect our usual practices.
Une fois de plus.
I want to reiterate yet again the importance of everyone adjusting to the temporary measures put in place in response to the pandemic and exercising continued vigilance to prevent such incidents from recurring.
Dès qu'un
member connects to a virtual sitting and opens their camera, they are considered to be, for all intents and purposes, in the House.
There is no dispute about the facts in question, and they constitute a serious breach of the rules of decorum and an affront against the dignity of the House. House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 3rd edition, states at page 60, and I quote, "Any conduct which offends the authority or dignity of the House is referred to a contempt of the House," unquote. Je prends évidemment acte des excuses du député de Pontiac.
I obviously take note of the apology from the member for Pontiac. He recognized that his behavior was completely inappropriate and confirms his commitment to obtain the necessary assistance. Nevertheless, the chair is required to determine whether the alleged facts are a breach of the rules governing contempt and thus merit priority consideration.
That is the case here. I would add that the new reality of members participating virtually, as well as its attendant rules, is unquestionably exceptional in the history of this House, but it is not without challenges. As such, more attention should be paid to the general and fundamental issue, perhaps even more so than to the more limited question on which I am required to rule today. For those reasons, the Chair rules that there is a prima facie question of privilege. I thus invite the member to move the appropriate motion. The Honourable Member for London, Middlesex, London.
Middlesex, London. It's all good. And thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I move, seconded by the Chief Opposition Whip, that the prima facie contempt concerning the misconduct of the member from Pontiac committed in the presence of the House be referred to the Standing Committee on Procedures and House Affairs. And at this time, I am sharing my time with the member from Banff Airdrie. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Banff Airdrie. Oh, one moment. Moved by Ms. Vecchio, seconded by Mr. Richards, that the prima facie contempt concerning the misconduct of the member for Pontiac committed in the presence of the House be referred to the Standing Committee on Procedures and House Affairs. The Honourable Member for Banff Airdrie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and certainly commend your ruling. I think it is important that this matter be examined. Obviously, when we have a case of someone, literally exposing themselves to the House on 2 different occasions, that is a pretty serious matter and one that does deserve to be reviewed by the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. I would also note, I think it's part of what we've seen is maybe a bit of a pattern of the general degradation of decorum and debate in this chamber by the fact that we have had the hybrid type of proceedings that we've had. Now, no one denies that they've been necessary, obviously, because we have been dealing with a pandemic. But certainly we have seen everything from issues with connections, sound quality, right through to instances like we've seen in the case of this member for Pontiac on a couple of occasions. I would say that a lot of that stems from the fact that what we've seen is, I think people get more relaxed and more comfortable because they are at home or in their own offices and sometimes forget that they are still in proceedings of the House of Commons. And it's something that's very difficult, if not impossible, to do when you're here in this chamber, because you look around and you understand the gravity and the respect for which you have to provide this institution when you are part of the proceedings here, whether you're speaking or just in the chamber, observing debate or preparing for your opportunity. And I think that that relaxation, does lead to things like this. And so I do really look forward, very soon to the day, Mr. Speaker, when we're, able to see the end of hybrid proceedings and see us return, as we see vaccination rates go up in this country, et cetera, to very soon the opportunity for all members to be back in the chamber, here in the House of Commons, where we belong, where we all want to be, and hopefully that will help to prevent instances like this as well, as bring back elevation of the debate and the decorum in this place. So again, I do look forward to that opportunity very soon for all of us to be back here in this chamber in person, so that hopefully we can move on without these kinds of instances in the future.
Get it straightened out sooner or later. Moved by Ms. Vecchio, seconded by Mr. Richards, that the prima facie contempt concerning the misconduct of the members for Pontiac, the member for Pontiac, committed in the presence of the House, be referred to the Standing Committee on Procedural Affairs. If a member of a recognized party is present in the House wishing to request a recorded division or that the motion be adopted on division, I would invite them to rise and indicate it to the chair. The honourable member for Banff-Airdrie.
Mr. Speaker, I would request that it be adopted on division.
Agreed? I therefore declare the motion carried on division.